I'd like to recognize Mr. Nadler from New York for his questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this important hearing, shining a light on the most lawless administration in history. Donald Trump may pride himself on mastering the art of the deal. What he has really perfected is the art of the shakedown. Look no further than the corrupt quid pro quo with the mayor of my own city of New York, Eric Adams. After cozying up to Donald Trump, the charges against him were dismissed without prejudice. Was it because the prosecutors determined there wasn't sufficient evidence to bring him to trial? No, it was because Donald Trump wanted something from him. He wanted the mayor to help carry out his extreme immigration agenda against the wishes and the well-being of millions of New Yorkers. So he and his administration orchestrated a corrupt bargain to drop the charges in exchange for the mayor doing his dirty work, and by dismissing the charges without prejudice, meaning they could be reinstated at any time, effectively kept the mayor on the hook to assure he did whatever Trump wanted. And of course, there is the president's effort to bully and intimidate major law firms that employ lawyers who dared to try to hold him accountable when they served in government. His campaign of retribution is a classic case of extortion, threatening the livelihood of these firms unless they do his bidding. If it weren't for the Supreme Court's immunity ruling last year, Trump could be prosecuted for extortion, violation of the Hobbs Act. Of course, Trump's captive DOJ would not prosecute in any event. Mr. Crosswell, thank you for being here. In your testimony, you told us about the reasons why you resigned. Perhaps you can elaborate. I know you did not work directly on the case, but how would you characterize the evidence you have seen publicly reported against Mayor Adams? Was it substantial? Was it overwhelming? What were some of the most egregious examples of public corruption you saw in this matter, particularly as it related to the mayor?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. You know, the case had not been dismissed with prejudice by Judge Ho last week. Mayor Adams would have had his trial, and like any other citizen, he'd be presumed innocent until proven guilty. That said, it was obviously deeply concerning that this was being dismissed for reasons that had nothing to do with the evidence. And so in terms of my own resignation, that was concerning. I probably would still be a public integrity had it not been for the fact that then five of my colleagues, incredibly talented, dedicated, and friends of mine with deep integrity then also had to resign because they wouldn't sign the order. And that really kind of goes back to my experience as a Marine officer. You take care of the people that work for you, and you expect them to do the right thing. You don't force them to resign over it.
But based on public reports, you don't want to characterize the strength of the evidence at this point in that case?
Sorry?
I said based on public reports, you don't want to characterize the strength of the evidence in the case?
If Congressman, if everything that was alleged in the indictment would have been able to be proven by the prosecutors, that looked like it would be a strong case.
Thank you, Mr. Crosswell. Ms. Cohen, thank you for being here and sharing your story with us. I know you mentioned why you left Skadden Arps in your testimony. Can you tell us more about why you think the law firm gave in to the president's demands, how intense the pressure is coming from the administration, and how dangerous that type of pressure is to the rule of law in this country?
Absolutely, thank you. I think that the strength of the pressure is exponentially higher because law firms are not standing together and are instead treating the president's attacks as if they are normal course and not something that would easily be challenged in a court. And so I think that the pressure here comes from presuming that standing up to the president means you fall out of his favor. I think that ultimately, because these executive orders have pointed to past representation, particularly challenging the government, it's massively dissuading large corporate law firms from taking cases that might be viewed as problematic to the Trump administration. They were instrumental in 2016 in bringing challenges against unconstitutional action, but it's not limited to 2016. Large corporate law firms provide a significant amount of financial and staffing resources to public interest organizations that are challenging unconstitutional actions under both Democratic and Republican presidents. They also provide an immense amount of direct services work, like to migrants seeking asylum and to veterans seeking benefits, things that the president alleges may be frivolous or counter to his interests.
Thank you. And if lawyers are too intimidated to take on the administration when it clearly violates the law, then what remedy do any of us have to enforce the law and protect our rights from a president with dictatorial demands?
Given the nature of our adversarial system, we have almost no hope. That's why we have to act now.
And
Thank
do
you.
think there's-
I think we've got to shift back to the Senate side now because we're impinging on their time. So.